today has been absolutely devastating yet again. It's 188 days that women have been denied, young girls and women have been denied their right, their fundamental human right to go to school. And seeing the footage and the images of those who arrived so expectant and excited to start their new school year after being denied for so long, and to only have that hope just stripped away yet again and denied. And we're hearing different reports coming out around delays because of school uniforms. There's different factions within the Taliban coming out with, different communications around this denial. But for us, really, it is just devastating.
Does it come as a surprise to you?
Absolutely not. Those from the community, those in the diaspora like myself, who have been following very closely since the fall of Kabul on August 15, 2021, this does not come as a shock to us, and we are yet again facing so much despair that the Taliban are denying their rights to education, but we are not surprised.
Of course, this comes after months of not attending school. What is it like for these girls who are just trying to get an education?
Absolutely, and these young girls, and to see their tears and to see them saying, we are people too. Is it a sin being born a girl? And that footage just coming out saying, what have we done to be sort of facing this sort of denial? And to be really clear to the viewers at home, this is not within Islam. Afghanistan is the only country in the world that still denies girls and women a right to education, and we cannot stand for that.
Well, the Taliban says the ruling will remain in place until it can come up with a plan under Islamic law. What are your thoughts on that, and what plan are you expecting to come out here?
Yeah, and again, this shows that whose interpretation of what Islamic law. This is not within the realms of any Islam that I know, and it's the only country in the world, as I mentioned, that denies women and girls a right to education, which is a fundamental human right enshrined in the Constitution of Afghanistan. So again, justice denied is justice delayed is justice denied. So they can come up with all the excuses that they want, but we're not believing a word that comes out of their mouths.
There were fears that when the Taliban took over last year that women's rights would be largely lost. What has transpired since then?
Absolutely, and we know when there are crises, and Afghanistan is facing one of the world's largest humanitarian crises with food shortages, water. We're seeing the banking and economic system just absolutely collapse in the last 7 months, and women have once again borne the brunt of that, and it's been a gendered crisis, and the country will never be rebuilt back with women and 50% of the population denied this fundamental human right.
Had their rights been improving in the years leading up to the Taliban takeover?
Absolutely, and we talk about the intervention, and we talk about this post 9/11, the coalition of the willing going in, and we talk about the allegations of war crimes and the Brereton inquiry and Australia's very real role that we played in those 20 years with mission creep and the reconstruction efforts. However, facts are that gains were made for women. The investment from all countries around the world in building back civil society, schools, education, women both rural and in regional towns and centres, gains were absolutely made, and these women were so expectant, and they were just living their lives just like you and I.
Such a devastating blow. I can't imagine what the reaction must have been amongst the Afghan community here. What have they said?
Look, I just actually came from a fundraiser this evening, and there were these incredible young women who had newly arrived in Australia, one of those evacuees that came out in August last year, and they were speaking very much from their experience in Kabul and saying that, they just, again, have fearing and facing that real reality that these women were facing when they went to school, and they were just talking about how, they felt that at that level and could really relate, and just to have that denied, it was like it was being denied to them again. And for all of us in the diaspora, I really urge people to continue the pressure and the amplification on Afghan women and the led initiatives, and from Kabul to Kiev, we stand in solidarity with all crises around the world, but it's a particularly acute grievance that we have when women are denied their basic fundamental human rights.
Of course, what hopes do you have for women and girls in the near future, especially when it comes to school and education in Afghanistan?
I mean, historically, Afghan women have led the movements for change. You know, my grandmothers and great-grandmothers and mothers were all educated. It's a country with a history of educated women and leading movements for change. You know, when the fall of Kabul happened in August, we had more female MPs in Parliament than Australia did. You know, we can't look at women as, you know, not agents of change who want to self-determine and drive their own lives, which they very much do. And if anyone has met an Afghan woman, they know that we are very capable, very able. It's the systems, it's the patriarchy, it's the misogyny, it's the geopolitical war that is actually holding us back. So I have hope in Afghan women. I don't necessarily have hope in the politics that is denying them their very fundamental right.
Said so very well. Thank you so much for coming in, Deanna Sayed.
Thanks, Yvonne, for having me.
Good to have you in the studio.
I know.